Hi, this is Ofori Murray, the digital reader, and recently Pocketbook, which is my e-reader of choice, they came out with a new device. It's the Pocketbook Verse Pro Color, and basically it is a color e-reader in the form factor, their smaller 6-inch form factor of the Verse and Verse Pro. I have the previous version, I had the previous version of that device, which was the Pocketbook Lux 4, which was their 6-inch reader, and their newer version is called the Verse line, which are 6-inch readers. The device, I was interested in the device because I definitely enjoy the InkPad Color 3 that I have. I love that device. It's a 7-point-inch color e-reader, and so I was definitely interested. And then when I saw that the price of the device was $169, it was absolutely a go. And so what I actually did is I sold my Pocketbook Lux 4 e-reader, and I sold my Pocketbook InkPad 4 black and white e-reader. And also I had bought a Kobo Clara HD. So I sold all 3 of those devices, and then with the money I got from that off of eBay, I went ahead and I purchased the Verse Pro Color. And I'm just going to call it the Verse Color from now on, because I know they call it the Verse Pro Color, but it's a color verse. And from Amazon, I'm going to pull up the Verse Pro Color. And here it is, the Pocketbook Verse Pro Color. You can see it's $169. So what I'm going to do is kind of just go over the device, and then at the end I'll talk about, what I like about it and what I don't like about it. And to be honest, everything I like about this device and everything I don't like about this device is almost the exact same as the InkPad Color 3. But let's get started. So I've already got my greedy little hands on it. Of course, I've taken out the box. I've used it for a couple days, but thought I'd kind of repackage it just to kind of show you everything that's in it. So eco-friendly device. Eco-friendly box. Cardboard. And then here's the device in here. Comes in this little like rice papery thing. That's the device. And then in the box, you have a USB-C cable. You have kind of a hello guide, kind of telling you should probably get a cover. Then you have a quick start guide, a bunch of different languages. Then you have warranty info and whatever this info is. And that's pretty much everything that's in the box. Let me put all this back, because if they make a better device, I will be upgrading that one, and I will be selling this sucker on eBay. Okay, let's get started. Let's turn the device on. And when you first go into the device, up top, you're going to see a couple books from your library, and then you will see some books from their bookstore that are recommendations. Their bookstore is an EU bookstore, which means that everything's in euros and it's in different languages. You can pick just one language, so their bookstore can either be a good thing or a bad thing. There are a lot of people who like to buy books in another language, and that's hard to do in US and most North American bookstores. Usually they focus on English language books, but here you can buy books in different languages. Their bookstore doesn't have a really wide selection. They have the most popular books on their site that you might find in North America, but then a lot of the lower tier books, a lot of the fan fiction, they're not going to have that you're used to on like Amazon or Smashwords or something like that. Also, everything, as I mentioned, is in euros. Now, to buy books here and to buy books on my preferred site, which are Kobo, or to buy books on ebooks.com, which is the site I actually use the most for buying books that are EPUBs that have DRM, is ebooks.com. To do all of those things, you will need an Adobe Digital Editions account. Hopefully you already have an Adobe Digital Editions account, and if you do, what you can do is go into the settings and go into accounts and synchronization and go to Adobe DRM, and you can add your Adobe account. And once you add your Adobe account, then books that you buy on device will be linked to that account, and also books that you've already bought that are linked to that account, you can move them over here and you will have no problems viewing them. Another thing that you can do is they have their recommended books, and they'll also have some bestsellers or some stuff like that. You don't have to keep that there. Pocketbook is one of the things I like the most about them is they're really just focused about however you want to use this device, knock yourself out. So if I don't want these recommendations, I can just go to personalize, widget settings, books recommended on home screen. I can just turn that off. And then when I go back home, those are gone. And now I just see the books from my account. Up top, you see the down arrow. That's the menu where you have your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, has dark mode, and dark mode's kind of cool. I'll jump back to that. Flight mode, and then you can sync. It's got the brightness, the SMARTlight, the Frontlight, and it has the auto. Just as an FYI, I've tried the auto brightness and it doesn't really seem to make it that bright. I think they set the auto brightness for a black and white device, and since color devices are naturally darker, that the auto brightness just doesn't do a good job. Whereas for the SMARTlight, which is the cool and the warm temperatures, I do use auto on that because I feel like however they do it, it kind of makes the color pop a little bit more. Now, typically, this is what the device looks like, and you can choose dark mode. Normally, they'll just have dark mode in your reading mode, but you can actually use dark mode for the whole device so that the whole device is dark. I haven't tested it out to see if it uses less battery or not because I like regular mode. And then to change it back, just take off dark mode. Looking at the bottom bar, you have your library, and they have up and down arrows so you can scroll through your library. I like to hit these. You can of course just scroll this way if you want to, but I like the up and down arrows a little bit better. It has audiobooks. I'll show that in a minute. It has the store. I talked briefly about the store. It has notes, and the notes basically, if you take a note in a book, then that's where it will show up, but I'll jump back to that in a bit. And then it has apps. I will go into this. So it has a browser, which is about as good as a Kindle browser, which means crap. Has a calculator, calendar, and clock. Has a dictionary, music player, which means you can actually put MP3s on this, and if you put MP3s on it, you'll be able to play it through a Bluetooth device. whether it's earphones or a Bluetooth speaker or whatever. Only I think it's called right here. That's the EU equivalent to Libby. Photo frame, so you can put pictures on there. RSS news, if you want to subscribe to any RSS news feeds, you would go do it through there. And then the settings, but I'll do settings separately. As far as the services, this is how basically it allows you two really cool ways to get your books from the cloud onto your devices. One, you can use Dropbox, so you can put your books in Dropbox, and this will go ahead and sync to your Dropbox account. Or you can use Pocketbook Cloud, which is their online cloud where you just put books there, EPUBs and books that you want to read, and it syncs to all your devices. And it will also, they have an app, a Pocketbook app that you can use on tablets and phones. And then Send-to-PocketBook, which is just like it sounds, similar to Send to Kindle. You can send to an email address, and what it'll do is it'll take it and it'll put it into Pocketbook Cloud. Then for games, it has chess, coloring book, Klondike, just some scribbling just to make freeform pictures, and Sudoku. And I have to admit, there have been times for me, especially if I'm someplace where I'm reading for a long time and I kind of just need a break from reading and I don't feel like using my phone's power or getting lost into what my phone does, then I'll actually play a quick game of chess. So the games actually are kind of useful, because if you're reading, you want to take a break, you don't want to whip out your phone, you can play a quick game of Sudoku or a quick game of Klondike or a quick game of chess. So I actually do use these every now and then. So as far as audiobooks go, I have my Tribbit connected to the device via Bluetooth. So for audiobooks, you would go to Audiobooks, and they would have the audiobooks that you've downloaded, sideloaded to your device here. The types of audio book formats that they can use is right here. And to use the audiobook, you would just...
Holmes, she is always the woman. I have seldom heard him mention her under any other name. In his eyes, she eclipses and predominates the whole of her sex. It was not that he felt...
So that would be the audiobooks. Also, what this device has is it has a text-to-speech for any EPUB that you have on the device. Well, actually EPUBs, MobiPub, also Mobi. It doesn't do it for PDFs, but it does have EPUB and Mobi. And I'll double check on the PDFs. My future self will let you know if it does do it for PDFs, but I don't believe it does. But to show you that, let me go back. Pull up the book I'm currently reading, which is Judge Dredd Year 3. And what you can do is just go to voice and it'll start reading.
To get close to the facility without being seen or wanting to get away from it, Dredd couldn't see much evidence of the work within. The assignment report said it was a research center to try and make headway in detoxifying the cursed earth. It was a noble venture.
So what you can also do, which is kind of cool, is you can slow it down a little. So let me slow it down a little because she was sounding a little bit fast.
They could claw back pockets of desert, they could cultivate crops, help feed the ever-multiplying mouths of MC1, but it also seemed unlikely. The desert wasn't called cursed for nothing, and from what they had witnessed on the way over, it was no exaggeration. The land trader
And that's your text-to-speech. So let's go into a book and take a tour at some of the options. So first, just like most e-readers, it has highlighting. You can highlight. It has note-taking. If you want to take a note, now you can just type in your note, and it'll mark the note where you made the note with a highlight. And if you want to go back and look up that note, you can actually do it universally. Here where notes are. And Judge Dredd has 2 notes. One is linked to the word earth on page 255. The other is linked to the word could on page 255 also. And if you want to go to the note on any of the books, you just tap there and it will jump you to the note. It also has your typical settings information. So it has font, it has margins, it has word spacing. You can change the font, regular, italic, and bold. And you can also change what you see when you're reading. If you just want to see pages, if you want to have a status bar, see pages left, or if you want built-in page numbering. I use built-in page numbering because, you know, I use Bookshelf, which I really enjoy, and pages are a big part of Bookshelf. So that's the interface. Also up top, you have your chapters. You have your bookmarks. Once again, it shows your notes, and it'll give you info about the book. And you can just get back to the book that way. To leave a bookmark, you just tap and press the bookmark. Another thing that you can do, there's a couple ways you can navigate. If you know what page you want to go to, you can tap the bottom and just type in the page. You can also do keyword search. Type in a word, it'll find that word, those words in the book. You can navigate that way. Or you can navigate just by using your bookmarks, as I showed you by going here. And lastly, I want to show you the document settings. There's several different settings on here. You have your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, counts and synchronization, where you store your Adobe DRM login and password, because you can buy books from any bookstore that uses Adobe DRM. You just would put your Adobe account, you would just add your Adobe account there. Same with Dropbox Pocketbook. You can use Dropbox to store your books, and your Pocketbook devices will pull the books from Dropbox. So you just go there and put in your Dropbox account. And Pocketbook Cloud is their service. It's a cloud service where you just put your books up there, and then it's available across all your devices. Personalize. There are a bunch of ways to personalize the device. Your Frontlight and your dark mode. G-sensor is the sensor that changes the orientation of the device. I usually keep mine off. LED notification. Whenever you do something, the bottom LED will flash briefly. It's a little tiny LED on the bottom. It's if you can see, it's like right there. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can get it to. There you go. See, it just flashed on. And key mapping. The Pocketbook has 4 keys. You can't see them. Let me see if I move it up a little bit. You can see them. It has a home key. It has a back button. It has a forward button, and it has a power button all down here at the bottom. They're hard to see because they blend in with the device, but they're all at the bottom. And the one nice thing is the back and the forward button, they're actually raised a bit. If you can see, they're raised just a tiny little bit so that you can feel them in the dark. So this is global with EPUBs and other devices, and with PDFs you can kind of map the keys. Then you have gestures. Basically, they break the screen up into quadrants, and you can change what happens when you tap into each quadrant. For me, I generally keep my whole right side to go forward. I keep the bottom left side to go back. My top corner is exit, and my middle is my reading menu. Then they have swipe commands you can configure. So you swipe, and if you want to configure one, for example, I have my down swipe configured to turn off my front light. And if you want to configure it, these are all the different ways you can configure it. You can change the appearance. You can have it do system-wide things. It has logos, and logos basically, it's really just an option where you can choose whether you want the logo to show when the device is off, or the page of the cover of the book you're reading. Widget settings is just whether you want to see the book recommendations or not. Audiobooks is where it stores audiobooks, and then how often it refreshes pages. So personalized has a lot of stuff. Languages, what language you want to be, date and time. Power saving is how long the screen's on before it shuts off. Maintenance is just USB mode, privacy, factory reset, and demo mode. And I have it ask me when I'm connected, because when you connect via USB mode, it'll either go to charging or it'll go to data transfer. Then the software version, about the device, and the user manual. It's nice. I like that the user manual is actually built into the settings, so you can't accidentally erase it or something like that. And it's also not, so front and center as being a pain. It's a pain to you. And this is, like I said, so if ever you kind of want to go through and see every little thing, you can just go to the user manual in the settings. Pocketbook Cloud is basically a web service that Pocketbook has, and anyone can sign up and create an account in Pocketbook Web. You don't have to have a device, and that's because Pocketbook Web is a web service where you can basically put documents, and either using a Pocketbook device or using a tablet or a phone or any device that you install the Pocketbook Reader app. They have a Pocketbook Reader app for iOS and Android that you can use. And if you use the Pocketbook Reader app or you have a Pocketbook device, then you can sync all of your documents across all your devices. And when I say sync, I mean you can sync your reading progress, you can sync bookmarks across all the devices, And all you really have to do to add a device to Pocketbook Web, there's two ways you can do it. They do have a Send-to-PocketBook Cloud, which is kind of like Amazon's, where you put a document in an email and it basically sends it to Pocketbook Cloud. Pocketbook Cloud does not convert your devices. Does not convert your formats. It just sends it in the format that you want. And that's because Pocketbook Cloud can read the following formats. It can read PDF, it can read EPUB, it can read text, it can read the comic book CBZ format, it can read RTF, it can read a host of different formats on Pocketbook Cloud. Now there's some they can't read on Pocketbook Cloud, but it's a wide enough variety of formats that if you put something on the cloud, you're in good shape. I primarily use EPUB on Pocketbook Cloud, and I also have done a couple comic book formats on Pocketbook Cloud, but I really enjoy the variety of formats you can get up there and how it syncs across all your devices. So I'm going to jump to the Pocketbook Cloud, show you what the interface is like. Basically, you start at the dashboard, the thing that your last reading. Like I said, since it syncs across all devices, it knows that I opened up Shadowrun spells in Chrome on one of my e-readers. It kind of keeps some stats, but you can sort. Like I said, the dashboard, you can sort by ebooks, audiobooks, recently read. So they have a bunch of different ways that you can sort. You can also link your Pocketbook Cloud to your Adobe account. And adding books is super simple. Like I said, you can email your books and it will just add them to Pocketbook Cloud, kind of like a Send to Kindle. Of course, they call it Send to Pocketbook Cloud. What I almost always do is I add them on my computer, since most of my books are on Calibre or Caliber, but I like to call it Calibre. Most of my books are on Calibre, so I usually just add them from there. And I'm gonna all you really do is go to Upload New Book, and I created a little folder called Pocketbook Demo. And I'm going to add actually 3 different formats: PDF, CBZ, which is comic book format, and EPUB. So let me add those. And you can see it's pretty painless. And when you're done, you're done. And then you scroll down a little bit, you can see the new books have been added. And you can, when you're done, you can, just go ahead and, delete it when you're done. And I delete it when I'm done. Usually after I read a book, I will delete it when I'm done. Keep that. And delete that. Then I'm just going to refresh. And bam, I'm back. So that's Pocketbook Cloud. Like I said, it's available. Anybody who is using the Pocketbook Reader app or anybody who has a Pocketbook device can use Pocketbook Cloud. And it's one of the main reasons why I am a Pocketbook owner. So I guess that's pretty much it. So now I'm down to 4 e-readers, really 3 E Ink e-readers. I'm down to the Kindle. Gotta always have a Kindle. I'm down to now my InkPad Color 3, the Verse Color, and of course I still have my iPad for PDFs. So just in closing, I kind of thought I'd like to talk about what I think are the pros and cons of the Verse Color 3, just so, for me personally, they're the perfect e-reader, but I don't know if they're for everyone. The first big pro is color. It's not perfect, but it is so nice to see your covers in color. It is so nice to have that color, just kind of as a luxury, because it's still a wonderfully functioning e-reader. It's not tied to any ecosystem. This is really nice for me because if you're talking about Kobo or Barnes and Nobles or Amazon, their real focus is buy books with us. Our device can read our books, and it becomes a kludge if you want to buy books wherever you feel like and then put them on the device and read them however you want. So one of the things that's really cool is how this is not tied to any ecosystem. Pocketbook Cloud. I love Pocketbook Cloud. I love the ability of just put the book up there and then it's available on all my devices. It doesn't have to be, some trick format or something like that. I also like that not only can you use Pocketbook Cloud, but you can also use Dropbox, which is pretty universal if you want to. But Pocketbook Cloud to me is just so easy to use, and I really enjoy that. That was one of the main reasons why I switched. It's just no transfer and it's just not a whole bunch of hoops to go through. You just take your ebook, you send it up to the cloud, zoom, it's available on all your devices. Battery life, it is, I always thought that once color devices became more popular, that the battery life would suffer enough that I just stay with black and white. Because for me, the number one thing that makes me use e-readers, e-ink e-readers, is the battery life. That, in my opinion, makes them superior to books. That they have everything books have, plus they have an incredible battery life. For example, I'm doing the standby battery life of my Kindle Paperwhite, and right now I'm going into the 4th month and it hasn't even dipped below 60%. So I'm imagining that on standby your Kindle will probably last 6 or 7 months, and it's the same for the Pocketbook e-readers. As far as cons, also almost forgot the compact size. This isn't so much the case for the InkPad Color 3, even though it is it's a book size, it's a decent sized paperback size. But for the Verse Color, is just so nice and so tiny. I'll show the comparison up here again, but it is just so nice and so tiny that it just fits anywhere. And that's kind of how I treat my devices. That basically my Verse Color is what goes in my bag, my pocket. That's where I take on the go with me wherever I'm out and about. And the InkPad Color 3 is what I basically use at home. I read it in my chair, I read it in my bed, I read it in the place you read stuff when you want to read stuff, but it is kind of like what I use in the house. And if I go on a vacation that's like a multi-day vacation, then usually I will take the InkPad Color 3. Sometimes I won't, but usually I'll take the InkPad Color 3. So compact size, I love of the Verse Color. But now let's talk about the cons. Because this system is an open ecosystem, it does have a steeper learning curve because you have to do stuff like add your own DRM account. If you're going to use Pocketbook, you have to sign up for Pocketbook. A lot of the stuff you're going to do to side load this means you're going to be on your desktop computer a lot with the side loading. It definitely takes a little bit more of a learning curve, where I feel like Kindle is just set it and forget it. Kindle also has access to Kindle Unlimited. Kobo is also easier, and they have Kobo Unlimited. So it does take a little bit of a steeper learning curve. But if you're somebody who's already pulling the DRM from your books, then the learning curve is not going to be a problem. The Pocketbook e-readers, in my opinion, are best for people who are side-loading the majority of their ebook contents, who they have a collection of ebooks and they want a great device to put those files on and read them. So this is a really good book for side loaders, and it's a con because it's not a great device if you're not a person who side loads a lot of your content. If you're using Kindle Unlimited, if you're buying books on Kindle or Kobo or ebooks.com, if you're a person who just basically likes to buy books on your device read your books there, and you want your books to be somewhere in the cloud that you don't have to worry about, then Kindle and Kobo and Barnes and Nobles, those are the ones for you, because you can do those things, buy it on the device, it's stored on the device, and when you take it off the device, it's stored on your account with with Kindle and with Barnes and Noble and with Kobo. So if you're not a person who does a lot of side loading, this isn't the device for you. Don't do PDFs on this device. PDFs, maybe with the exception of PDF comics, aren't a great experience. If you're just going to keep it static and read it and move to the next page, then it's fine, it'll work, but not for big PDFs, not if you have to move around in Zoom. This device just doesn't have the horsepower for that, as most E Ink e-readers don't have the horsepower for it. It lacks decent accessories. Because this device is from Europe, and because it is not as well known in North America, they just don't have a great number of accessories for it. The cases are all kind of okay-ish. My favorite case is my custom case for my Pocketbook InkPad 3 Color, because I just couldn't really find a case I really liked that had good designs and stuff like that. Whereas for Kindles and for Kobos, they have tons of cases for those everywhere. And and this device, although very small and very compact, it is heavy for its size. I'll put the weights up, but my gut tells me that this is heavier, much heavier than the Kindle. It's probably heavier than the Kobo Clara, but it definitely feels heavy for its weight. It's made of good materials, but it feels heavy for its weight, and it is not a metal device. It is mostly plastic, but still feels very heavy for its weight. And the last con is the performance is sluggish. I don't know what's going on with these devices, but I feel like when I use the Kindle is a very snappy device. Even most e-ink e-readers aren't blazing fast. I feel like the Kindle isn't blazing fast, but it's pretty snappy. I do feel that these devices, especially when you're navigating the menus and stuff, they are kind of sluggish. Once you get in and you're reading books, or you're playing chess, or you're doing something else, it's not bad at all. You hardly even notice it, especially when you're reading books. There's no slowdown. But these devices do feel a little bit sluggish when you're moving around. And if you're a person who's expecting, LCD, tablet, iPad type speed, you will be disappointed. If you're coming from a Kindle, then you'll also be a little bit disappointed because the speed is slower than a Kindle. I feel it's about the same speed as Kobos, but I haven't messed around with the newest color Kobos. For me, like I said, it's not a big issue because I don't navigate around that much. I go to my books and I read my books, and that's when I really lose myself and I'm in full joy. If I want power, I'll pull up my iPad, but I read these for convenience, battery life, and focus device. Those are why these things are important to me. So I guess that's it. Any questions, give me a holler. This is why I am terribly happy. I have a Pocketbook InkPad Color 3, and I have a Verse Pro Color as my two main devices, one for home, one for out and about, and they get about the same amount of workout. Usually I'm home half the time and I'm out and about half the time, and I got a part-time job where I work nights, so when I'm at that part-time job at nights, I read the Verse Pro Color, and then when I'm home and I'm chilling and reading, I use the InkPad Color 3. So this is Ofori, the digital reader, and I hope that was useful to somebody, and keep reading.